Hi, I'm Brad Knowles, producer of Friday Night Flies, hosted by Scott LeBoldis and Scotty Holmes. Enjoy the show.
Hey guys, here we are, Friday Night Flies at Bass Pro in Tawasin in the White River Fly Shop once again. I know I was thinking about doing a craft for fly last week, but forget that one. We're going to do a super simple coho fly. So the coho are still kicking around in Squamish. I don't even think they've really showed up in any numbers yet. We get them for the next couple months right through. I've caught them at the end of January, to be honest. They're pretty colored up by that point, but they're still scrappy, that's for sure. So yeah, we got our buddy Rich. I'm just gonna get this out of the way because he wanted me to embarrass his son. Our buddy Rich, for the friend of the show, he was up in Squamish over the weekend, and his son caught a really nice chum. And when he held it up to get a photo, let's post the photo here. The chum got a little excited. If you have a look at his leg, it kind of splooged all over him, which is pretty funny. So the chum dumpster fly has a great name because, well, you can put two and two together. So yeah, there's that. There you go, Rich. That was for you, buddy. Also, our friends Superfly have finally entered the world of social media. They have a Facebook page, which is kind of cool. So I believe I posted on our Facebook page the other day. You can give them a follow, check them out, see what they got going on. They have a big Black Friday sale coming up where they're actually opening their doors in Edmonton for you to go in and get a bunch of discounted and clearance products for super cheap. So definitely worth checking out if you're in the Edmonton area. Give them a go. But yeah, so let's get down to this fly. It's a super easy one. It's essentially a woolly bugger, but micro-sized and very, very sparse. So this fly is called the California Neil. It was invented by a guy named Neil in California. The history of this fly is pretty well documented. It does very, very well off the beaches for coho. As soon as they hit the rivers as well, sometimes they hit the big stuff, but usually they like the smaller, sparser patterns. So this one definitely fits the bill. Doesn't need too many materials. It's quite easy to tie. So basically anybody can tie this one, which is kind of cool. So let's head on down and get this one going. Alright, so there it is, the California Neil. So as you can see, it's very reminiscent of a woolly bugger. Very sparse. Again, super simple to tie. The tricky part is finding the hackles for these flies. Jordan and I went halfers on a bunch of these really nice half capes from Hairline. All grizzly, all dyed. I've got them in the olive here, which is going to be this version. I've got them in chartreuse, which I've done this pattern in as well. Hot pink, blue, you name it. We got lucky and split a couple packs because they're not cheap. So let's get this one going. So we'll just pop the hook out of the vise, and we'll pop a new one into the mongoose. So I'm tying this on a saltwater hook. You can tie it on whatever hook you want. This one I will fish off the beaches and stuff for cutthroat as well. So this is a Gamakatsu SL11 3H size 8. You can do them down in 4s and 6s as well. And I got a 5/32 bead head from Superfly here. Nice thing I like about their beads, they come in 25 packs. Usually your hooks come in a 25 pack as well. So it just makes sense, not like those ones where they give you 24 beads and you get 25 hooks. You always got one left over. So for thread, I'm just using some 70 Danville in chartreuse. So we just start that behind the bead, work our way back. Now, like I said, these hackles were not cheap, so I'm using pretty much every part of them that I can. So I've got one here that's not the prettiest, but it's got a lot of this really nice marabou-y kind of stuff down at the bottom. So I'm just going to use that for the tail. So I'm going to separate a good chunk here. And just line up the tips. And this is going to make my tail. Just kind of realign those. There we go. Excuse the noise. We got guys building nice shelters and stuff like that. We are open. So the tail is going to be roughly the size of the hook shank there. We'll just kind of wrap that down. Tidy up that section. You can go as heavy or as light on that tail as you want. And we'll just tidy that up a little bit. And we're going to add a little bit of flash. So for the flash, I got some midge flash in olive from Hairline. You can use crystal flash, that works just as fine as well. This stuff is just very, very fine. I find just to keep the sparseness of this pattern, I wanted to go with the smaller crystal flash here. Just find two that aren't all kinked. So I'm just going to wrap 2 pieces on each side. There we go. So again, this is a very popular fly for coho off the beaches. I find as soon as they hit the river, sometimes they'll take the big streamers, but they definitely really like the tiny stuff as well. There was a day last year I got caught with no small patterns, and Jordan was smashing them on little flash flies, and I was getting nothing because I only had big streamers. So I made a point this year to tie up a giant box of small flies as well. So you trim those about the length of the tail. Let's make it a little long. There we go. And we're going to add a rib to this. So I just got some ultra wire, small size, and red. The original pattern didn't have wire on it. But again, because these hackles aren't cheap, I want them to last as long as possible. And so I'm just going to reinforce it with the wire. The original pattern would, after we tie in our body material, which is just some pearl tinsel in large. The original pattern, after we do this body material here, actually called for, if I get that to stick where I want it to, actually called for epoxy. So you could use a UV resin if you wanted on top of the body material. And then once you wrap the hackle up, you can cure it, and that should kind of reinforce it a little bit. I find just using the wire adds a little bit of a hot spot as well as a just reinforces the hackle. Just try to make that body as green as possible. A few extra wraps behind the bead there. And we're just going to wrap this up. Nice overlapping turns. Gotta love tinsel and time live. There we go. Let's just start that again. Just be careful those hook points. They are sharp on these saltwater hooks. Again, you can use whatever hook you like. I prefer the salt ones because I will use these in the salt, like I said, for cutthroat as well. I do like these small, sparse, buggy flies. Actually, last weekend, speaking of cutthroat, I was down, last week I was down in Seattle for a Whitecaps game, which they lost, unfortunately. But I popped into this little tiny fly shop that was near my friend's place that we were staying at called Patrick's Fly Shop. If you are ever in Seattle, go and check this place out. It was awesome. Jordan and I have been kind of experimenting with cutthroat fishing off our local beaches, and they had some great patterns and stuff that I picked up there. So I'll be doing up some of those in the future here. So now I've got a hackle that I like. So like I said, we had the really ugly one that's not going to be used for much. Using that for tails and stuff like that. And then I've got one of these much finer ones here. So again, we want this to be fairly sparse. So you just kind of pick a size that you like. You can oversize it if you want for the first couple wraps. I like to try to use as much as possible. So I'm just going to clear a little tie-in spot here. But to keep the sparseness, as you can see there's my tie-in point, I'm going to peel off the fibers off this top portion. Only about maybe 2 inches is really all you need, because we're only going to get about 4 or 5 wraps. Then that way I can keep the finer tip for another fly. So I'm just going to peel that off, all the stuff that I don't want. And we'll just keep going here. Guys are cracking jokes. They're really struggling with this ice tent. Should have been done ages ago. If you're looking for a job, we're hiring. So we'll tie that off there on the side. We're going to wrap this in a little bit reverse from how we would normally do it, a traditional woolly bugger. This just helps to keep that body profile nice and small. Go, trim that away. I'm going to take a full wrap at the front here. And then, like I said, only about 4 or 5 wraps. You can see how sparse that's going on. And now I got my wire hanging off the back here. This is where I trap in the hackle. And I'm just going to wiggle that up as we go. Again, 4 or 5 wraps. Just kind of counter wrap that hackle. Full turn at the head here. Go. And we're just going to lock that down. A couple wraps behind, a couple in front. And we can just helicopter that wire off. That makes it nice and flush, saves your scissors as well. And then we'll just trim off that hackle stem at the back. I like to leave a little nub just in case. And now we're just going to build up a little bit of a hot spot on here. So like I said, this is a super easy pattern. Anybody can tie these. They're extremely effective off the beaches and in the rivers. Like I said, I've done them up in, so this is the olive variation. I've done them with a chartreuse hackle as well. And I've also done them in pink. You could probably do them in orange. I can just get this to sit where I want. Really want to build up a little hot spot behind that bead so it doesn't slip on you. You can head cement these as well if you like. I just like to do 2 whip finishes. There's one. Make sure you seat the knot. And one more. Just like so. There you have it. The California Neil. So, like we said, super easy pattern, deadly for coho. Alright, let's head on up and sign out. There it is, California Neil. Like I said, super easy pattern to tie, super sparse. Again, save those hackle tips. You do not want those to go to waste. Yeah, so I'm going to test out some of these new cutthroat patterns, like I was saying that I picked up in Seattle the other day. I tied up a bunch of my own. Maybe I'll do one of those up for you guys next week, as that season comes quickly after, right in the springtime. As soon as the fries start emerging, that's when the cutthroat come out in numbers, and they're a lot of fun. They're really scrappy fish. So yeah, that's kind of it. Make sure you follow our Facebook page. If you actually check out, we have a giveaway going on with trout beads, and I actually unboxed one, the steelhead packs that they gave us yesterday. So definitely check it out. Like the page for an entry. All you have to do is follow Hook and Vice, Halios Outdoors, as well as us. And yeah, hopefully you win. We'll be giving that away in the next week or so. I think another, maybe 2 more, not next week, but following Friday Night Flies, I'll announce the winners for that. But yeah, so I hope you guys are having some luck out there with all this cold weather. I know I stayed home yesterday. I know the fish kind of shut down when it gets too cold. But tomorrow we're going to give it a go and see what happens out in the salt water. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit us up with any comments on our Facebook page. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching this. It's just one click. And we'll see you guys next week.